Hello. Okay. So, okay, let's start this weekly update. And first, let's look at the market update and how it has performed today. And then we'll see the market weekly performance. So, benchmark indices have been in a upward trend today after breaking six consecutive falls. So after six consecutive sessions of a downward movement, Sensex and Nifty have ended on an upward trend today. So Sensex has ended 51 points up at 37,882 and Nifty has ended 32 points up at 11,284. So the top gainers today on the Nifty were Yes Bank, Bajaj Finance, and Bajaj Finserv, and a few more companies. And the top losers were Vedanta, IOC, HDFC, Tech Mahindra, and Reliance Industries. So now let's look at how the market has performed on a weekly basis. I'll be looking at some charts and I'll be explaining it to you. If you have any doubts, you can always leave them in the comments below and I will answer them. So maybe from the next time when we conduct our live stream sessions, I'll be able to show you a screen sharing so that you can see the chart that I'm also seeing. And that way we'll be able to understand exactly what I'm looking at and how I'm explaining it. So on an intraday basis, if we look at the indices first, we'll look at the Sensex chart. And on an intraday basis, Sensex has ended in an upward trend. It's in bullish status right now. And Sensex itself, on a short term status, it's close uh, to hitting the baseline and moving towards a bearish trend. It's very close. And on a long term trend, if we look at Sensex, it's still in a bullish trend right now and doesn't seem to be heading towards a bearish trend anytime soon. It'll take a while, but not anytime soon. Next, let's look at Nifty. So Nifty 50 is also in an upward trend right now. It has, after the six consecutive falls, it's performing well. On a long-term session, long-term basis, if we're looking at Nifty charts by applying weekly candlestick charts on a Nifty, on the Nifty chart, we can see we can apply some indicators and see that Nifty is in a bullish trend. And in the short-term trend, and if we apply the daily candlestick charts, Nifty has just tripped over towards the bearish trend. It has just crossed the line, indicator lines, and moving towards the bearish trend. On an intraday basis, however, Nifty is still in the bullish trend. Today, around it moved from the bearish trend, and it's now in the upward bullish trend, and it's good for the Nifty currently, even after the especially today's upward movement has helped Nifty's bearish movement, and now it's all bullish. So let's look at NSE Nifty 50 stocks. If at any point you guys have any doubts or troubles, if you would like to ask about any chart specific stocks, you can ask. Okay, let's look at the 52-week high stocks. So the 52-week high stocks for this week are Asian Paints, FC Software Solutions, GF Steels, Libas Designs Limited, MAS. Okay, let's look at some of the major stocks first in this. I think this hasn't been cleared. Okay, the stocks which are in the 52-week high in the Nifty, if you look at the NSE's page and you look at the 52-week high stocks, so these are Asian Paints, FCS Software Solutions, Grand Foundry Limited, Libas Designs Limited, MAS Financial Services, Mandana Industries, PIL Italica Lifestyle, and Barun Beverages. And let's look at 52-week low stocks. So there are a lot more stocks which are in the 52-week low. It shows around 293. Let's just look at the more popular stocks that we can identify as the 52-week low. So we have Apollo Tires at the 52-week low and Arcade Industries. Bajaj Electricals is also near the 52-week low. Aditya Birla Money, Bharat Gear, and what else? BSE Limited is also in their 52-week low. Coal India, Cox and Kings Limited, but they've recently been having a lot of bad news, Cox and Kings Limited, so it's obvious that they're still in their downward spiral right now. They even have had a few bad credit ratings, which has led to a lot of selling seen in the Cox and Kings company. Gale India Limited is also in the downward, it's in the 52-week low stocks. So this week there have been a lot of stocks in the downward movement, which has. So if we look at NSE India's website, we can see there are around 293 securities which are near the 52-week low level. If we look at the volume gainers, we have a lot more stocks here. Let's look at the top 10 gainers and the top 10 losers today on the NSE's website, and they are Yes Bank, Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finserv, Icar Motors, Infratel, Hero Motocorp, Mahindra and Mahindra, Bajaj Auto, Tata Motors, and Z Entertainment. The top losers on the NSE today, Nifty 50, were Vedanta, IOC, Bharti Airtel, HDFC, Tech Mahindra, Reliance, GAIL, ONGC, Cipla, and HCL Technologies. So Vedanta has dropped around 4%, 4.29. Indian IOC has dropped 3.27%, and the rest have dropped close to 1%. And the top gainers have gained, Yes Bank gained 9% today, and Bajaj Finance and Bajaj Finserv gained 7%, and the rest have gained around over 2 to 4%. What else? If you're looking at the most active stocks in value wise and volume, we can see that on the list we have Bajaj Finance and Yes Bank, and Tata Motors in on the basis of value. If we look at volume wise, Yes Bank is also topping that list, and CPSEETF, I'm not sure. In the Idea shares and Tata Motors PNB have also been one of the most highly traded stocks today. So let's look at some of the most commonly seen indices. So in indices, let's look at intraday. So first, let's look at Bank Nifty. Bank Nifty on an intraday chart is currently in a very bullish movement. And let's look at in short term. So Bank Nifty is also close to turning bearish. It's very close to the signal line. So it could turn bearish or it could slowly skip it, but it looks like it's moving towards a bearish trend, Bank Nifty, on a short term basis. On a long term basis, Bank Nifty is again still in the bullish movement, highly bullish. Let's look at some other most common Nifty indices. So let's look at Nifty Auto. So Nifty Auto on a long-term basis, it's in a very bearish trend right now. So you can maybe short it, but otherwise, I don't. Right now, buying is not a good advice for Nifty Auto, for at least for the long-term basis. On a short-term basis, Nifty Auto is again in on intraday. Nifty Auto is highly bullish. It's currently trading around 7,173, and that's good. This is for the intraday level. So the last closest low they had was also seen today. It has climbed from the bearish movement today and gone to the bullish trend. So today it opened at close to 6,993 and it has climbed to 7,173. So next, let's look at another index today. Nifty Pharmaceuticals. If you look at Nifty Pharmaceuticals on an intraday basis, Nifty has been in an upward trend since yesterday. So it's very bullish. On a short term basis, Nifty Pharmaceuticals is very bearish right now. So maybe you can short it till 9,005, I suppose. And in a long term basis, Nifty Pharmaceuticals is again in a bearish trend. If you have any doubts, please be sure to leave it in the comments and we'll be checking them. And I'll answer any of your questions that you guys have. Let's look at one more stock. Let's look at some more Nifty indices. Nifty IT. So we'll look at Nifty IT for the long term basis. You can also look at it simultaneously yourself. You can go to the you can open one of the free charting sources and you can open up one of the charts for Nifty IT if you'd like to look at it along with me. And you can see that Nifty IT If we apply the weekly candlestick chart, it is in a very bullish movement right now, Nifty IT. On a short-term investment basis, Nifty is has entered into the bearish trend in the past 1 month. It has moved from the bullish to the bearish trend, and an intraday basis, Nifty has just moved from bearish to bullish. It's just past the signal line. If we apply our proper indicators, we can see that Nifty on an intraday basis have moved from bearish to it's moving towards the bullish trend. Let's look at some more indices this week. Let's look at Nifty PSU Bank. And on an intraday basis, Nifty PSU Bank is still bullish, but it's flirting close to the signal line, and it could move to the bearish movement. So you can hold off right now for the moment until it crosses towards at least on the intraday level. On a short-term trend basis, Nifty PSU Bank has just entered into the bearish trend, so it will be going into the bearish movement, and it might be good for shorting this stock. Just hit the it's gone lower than the previous lows, so the chances of it staying on a bearish trend being very strong is very high. Compared to the previous low, it has already crossed it on a short term basis. So the chances of this trend being bearish is very high. Let's look at on a long term basis. Nifty PSU Bank is mostly range bound. It's going up and down the trend line. If we apply moving average weighted as the charting technical indicator, you can apply two trend lines and see two indicator lines over the candlestick chart, and we can see that the this specific index is very range bound. So yeah, hovering close to it's hovering within the 3,300 levels to the 3,600 levels, 2,600 levels. So that will be one of the stop losses if you wish to buy the Nifty PSU Bank. But this is for the long term trend movement. So on a long term basis, Nifty PSU Bank currently very range bound. However, on a short term basis, it's entered into a bearish movement. So we can probably short this stock and keep the stop loss around, where is this? 3,300 levels. You can start with the first stop loss being around 3,170 to 80 levels, and then the second stop loss we can keep at 3,300 levels. 3,000, yes, 3,308. Let's look at some more indices. Or let's look at some of the bank stocks. Most common stocks we saw today, highly volume traded, was Yes Bank. Let's see how they have performed on a charting basis. So on an intraday basis, if we look at Yes Bank, it's in a highly upward movement. So today it has crossed over from the bearish trend to the bullish. So it's moving highly bullish on an intraday chart. On Now let's look at it on a short-term basis. If we still look at the short-term basis, Yes Bank is still bearish. Even after the slight upward movement we have seen today, even after climbing 9%, it's highly bearish. So you can short the stock. And on a short-term level, you can keep the first stop loss. You can keep stop loss levels till, where is this? 108, with the next stop loss level around 116 or till 156. Let's look at long-term basis. On a long-term basis also, if we look at Yes Bank charts, we can see it's still in a bearish trend. It has crossed past their previous low in the past few days and still moving past the previous low. So this bearish movement is very strong and it's likely to continue. Let's look at some more stocks. From the next live stream, we'll try to make sure that we keep a screen sharing service so that you can all see the screen that I'm pointing at, and you can also understand what type of charts we are trying to understand, like the chart I'm trying to explain, what kind of indicators and oscillators we are applying on the candlestick charts, the time frames which we are using, the settings we are applying. So that way I can be able to teach you more about the stocks and the charting levels, the different indicators that you can apply, and where you can see the signals, how you can apply your stop losses and your limits, resistance levels. So that and all we'll show you all of those from the next live stream events. Um, so before we end, let's look at just one last stock, that is the ICICI Bank. So on a long-term basis, if we look at ICICI Bank stocks, it's in a highly bullish movement. It's not close to moving towards the bearish level, so it's still good time. So ICI is good for a nice bullish movement, showing a nice bullish trend. And in a short-term basis, it seems to be moving closer towards the bearish signal line. So if it crosses over the signal line, that is the weighted moving average signal line which I'm using, so it could move, but still currently it's in a bullish movement. On an intraday basis, also ICICI Bank is highly bullish, and it's gone in a very highly bullish movement also today, as we can if we can look at the charts. So that's all for today. That was the intraday weekly updates. We have looked at some of the Nifty's movements and how some of the charts and indices have performed and what kind of trending levels they are, the 52-week highs, the 52-week lows of the recent days we have seen. Um, what else? If you have any doubts or any questions, you can be sure to leave them in the comment section and we'll cover them and in the next live stream. And please stay updated. We'll be conducting a weekly live stream on every Friday around the same time, around 4. So you can be sure to stay updated and learn more about the stock markets along with me. So thank you for watching this video. Mr. Surendra Suri, thanks for valuable information. Thank you. I'm glad that you have found this very useful.